All right. So we want to see an example, right? Before we look at some example, let's make sure that our rounding profile is set right. So go to OB90 and we want to create an order for 1000 company code. Okay. So I've made an entry here for 1000 EUR currency and I've set it to 10, right? 10 meaning it cuts off at the first decimal, right? So 1.16 become zero point 0.2 and 0.25 or 24 becomes 0.2, right? It cuts off to the first decimal. And the other configuration that we have to do is make sure that our pricing procedure has those difference or diff condition types properly set up. So the condition type is diff, D-I-F-F. So go there, and as you can see, it should be set as a group condition. Okay, by default it's a standard condition type, so you don't have to do any changes. But if somebody else went in and changed it, make sure that you change it back to a group condition. Why is it a group condition? It's a group condition because rounding is something that you typically apply across all the line items, right? So it takes the first line item, second line item, 100th line item, and then whatever value that you want to round to at the header level needs to be rounded up or rounded down, and the difference needs to be distributed across line items. Sometimes it could be just 0 or sometimes maybe not. And the rounding rule here needs to be set to commercial, right? It's not round up or round down. It needs to be set to commercial for the right rounding to work, right? It could be up or down depending on the decimals and digits. So make sure that your condition type is proper and your pricing procedure RVAA01 has the corresponding condition type properly set up. What do I mean by properly set up? Make sure that it has a requirement type 13 and a calculation type of 16. And when we look at 13, like I said, it indicates that it's pulling the values from this table T001R. If you look at that table, see what it means? T001R REINH. So what it is essentially checking for is if for that company code, that currency, the document currency, does an entry exist in this table? If it does not, don't bother about the difference with respect to rounding. If there is an entry, then this condition type is valid, right? That's what a requirement routine does. You can have your own requirement routine. You can go look at the table and then do something else as well. Maybe if the currency is Japanese, don't do rounding. You can do a number of things. And this is where all the magic happens. If you go to 16, select this rounding routine, and again a check is done, right? And after that, it converts or does that rounding and looks at that difference. So this is the difference between the original value and the rounded up value. In fact, this is the rounded up value, XCOMV keyword, and this is how it has arrived at that difference. Now we don't need to bother about how it arrived at that difference. So this is a standard equation. You can just use it in your routine if you want. If you want to create your own custom routine and then do something else, you can just use that formula. All right, so that is set. We're all good to go. So what we are going to do is create an order. Order OR. Remember, we have set the parameter in OB90 for 1000 company code. And I want to use sales org 1000. So, and that's the reason why I'm using sales org 1000. All right, some customer in that sales org. And then some material. Doesn't matter what material, as long as our pricing procedure is determined, which it should have at this point. So double click conditions, I'll click on analysis, and make sure that it's the pricing procedure that you have configured things for. In this case, RVA01. Now, you see that the price is 859. It comes from the condition record, so it's all good. And then there's a 19% tax, right? What is 19% of 859? 859 multiplied by 0.19 equals 163.21. Now, over here, rounding is not a big deal, right? Because it's all 2 digits. But if you go back, look at the currency EUR and company code 1000. What did we set in OB90 slash OB90? We have set it to 10, right? What does 10 mean? 10 means that this value over here should be rounded down to 1 decimal only, right? So if you go to the header right here, go to conditions. Do you see a difference there? This is the rounding difference. And how does it arrive at that? Remember, it's a group condition. It calculates the rounding at the header level and then applies it at the line item level. If at all it applies it at the line item level. So we'll see, we'll look at how that arrives at 0.01. But let me do a small change here. So go to the line item and then change this to 859.12. Okay, 0.12. What is happening here? Look at this. This is where the rounding has happened. And that 0.01 that it arrived at the header level is a result of rounding the price plus tax at the header level. Right? Do you see that here now? The reason why it does that is 859.12, right, multiplied by 0.19 is 163.23, right, whatever, plus add 859.12, 1022.352, right? That's what the final figure is, 1022.352, if you are not rounding any part of that final figure, 1022.352. But this value, the total, do you see that rounded to 1 decimal? So if it were rounded, it should have been 1022.35 rounded up to the next nearest decimal would either be 0.3 or 0.4, right? Because we said 10 in OB90. So anything after the first decimal should be cut off, right? Either rounded up or rounded down. But this guy is rounded down to the first decimal. After that, there is just a 0 because the 2 is gone, right? The 2 is gone. The reason why this is happening is, in order for this to explicitly happen for that condition type or that subtotal, in order for that to explicitly show up, what you have to do is you have to go to that pricing procedure and set up the calculation type to 17. So what does 17 do? It's rounding as per the OB90 setup. And if you don't do that, it does not show that rounded value. But it does the rounding. It does the rounding and puts the difference in diff. But it will not show you that rounded value. In order for SAP to show you that rounded value, you have to assign the calculation type of 17. In this case, I have assigned it to PR00 because that's my only condition type for price. But you could very well assign it to a subtotal, say total, and assign that calculation type of 17, and whatever has been calculated will result in that rounding and come to that nice cute number.